Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Imagine waking up one morning and finding that there's no rain, no rivers, and no clean water to drink. Have you ever wondered where rain comes from or where the water goes after it rains? Today, we are going to learn about the water cycle, the continuous movement of water on, above, and below the Earth's surface. So, by the end of this lesson, you understand how water changes from and moves through in nature. To make our lesson more engaging, we will use slides to visualize the process and then test our understanding with an interactive quizzes. So now let us get started. So now, what do we mean by water cycle? So water cycle is also called the hydraulic cycle. It's the continuous movement of water on, above, and below the surface of the earth, and it changes constantly. So as water is in its liquid state, it changes to vapor. Then after it changes to vapor, it changes to ice or into a condensed form or a cloudy form. So below here I have 3 points about water cycle. The first point is driven by the sun's heat. So the first stage is that the heat of the sun absorb the sea or the ocean in the form of a vapor. Then it later changes into condensed form. Let us move to the next slide. Stage of the water cycle is the evaporation stage. Now, the sun heats water at the surface of ocean, lakes, and rivers until it turns from liquid into invisible water vapor. Now, the first stage of evaporation is that the heat of the sun would absorb the water or the ocean. You understand? The heat of the sun absorbs it. Then it changes into a condensed form. So we are going to move on to the next slide, which is the condensed form or the condensation form. So as water vapor rises, it cools and changes back into tiny form. So when the vapor is being absorbed, it's then changed into a condensation form. That's how the water cycle works, from vapor into a condensation form, and that condensation form forms a cloud formation. So anytime we see heavy clouds when it's about to rain, it is in the stage of what? A condensation. So that's how it is. The vapor rises and it cools and changes back into a tiny liquid droplet. So below there you will see points and 4 points that I have listed for condensation. It occurs when rising air cools below its dew point and also produce the clouds we see in the sky. So those clouds that we see in the sky are a condensed form. And the third point we have, it releases heat back into the atmosphere. And the last point is that sets the stage of precipitation towards to flow. So the cloud that we have been seeing on the sky is in the condensation stage. It is in the condensation stage. I hope you understand. Okay. So we are going to move. The fourth stage of water cycle is precipitation. Now, what do we mean by precipitation, or how does precipitation occur? When cloud droplets combine and grow heavy enough, gravity pulls them back down to earth as rain, snow, or sleet or hail. So now the precipitation is simply means that, you see, when the vapor is being absorbed on the surface of the sea or lake, and later it's changed into a condensed form. So the process, the process between the rain falling from the cloud onto the earth's surface is termed as precipitation. So if you check on the diagram right side, you see how precipitation occurs. So this you see how precipitation do occurs. You see the cloud over here, and when it changes into water, it's either changed into rain, snow, or hail. Yes, it either changes to rain, snow, or hail. So that's how precipitation do occurs. It simply means that the clouds being changed into a droplet of water. So that's how precipitation do occurs. So the last stage of water cycle is that collection and runoff. Now, what do we mean by collection and runoff? It is the falling water gathers on the surface, flowing across the land as runoff into streams. So as the rain falls in the process of precipitation, the rivers and the streams in the oceans, they collect the droplets of water from the cloud onto the surface of the earth. So droplets of the rain, the snow, or the hail forms these layers in rivers, then straight onto the large seas or ocean. So this is the last stage of the water cycle. The last stage of water cycle. I hope you are following. The last stage of water cycle. So the first stage we talk about evaporation, the next stage we talk about the condensation, and the third stage we talk about the precipitation, and the last stage is collection, where the rains are being collected on the surface of the earth. So below you will see 4 points. You will see 4 points of collection and runoff. So lastly, we are going to talk about why it matters. Why the water cycle matters. Why the water cycle matters. So the first thing is that it supplies fresh drinking water to the ecosystem. So as it continues to rain, it supplies, or it gives fresh drinking water to the ecosystem, the fish and the animals in the sea, and also we the people as well. And the second thing is that it regulates climate and weather patterns. So the changing in weather and climate is being caused by what? By the water cycle. And the third point is that it shapes the landscape through erosion. So whenever you see erosion on the surface of the earth, it is a water cycle that causes it through rain falling. The rain falling is the precipitation stage. So it is the precipitation stage that causes the erosion. And the last stage is that it sustains agriculture, forest, and all the terrestrial life. So as it rains, the trees and the plants and the vegetation gain a fresh drinking, or let me say a fresh water. So the roots of these trees absorb the water through their roots. Then to the various parts of the plant. So now in all, you see how the water cycle is. So it is a movement. It is a cycle movement, a constant change. So what do you mean? Is it that the water cycle is the continuous movement of water on and above below the earth's surface? So the first stage, as we spoke about, you see how to say, you can see clearly a movement. It is a movement. It starts from evaporation here. It starts here. He says that the sun heats water in oceans, lakes, and rivers, turning it into water vapor. The vapor rises up into the air. So that's how evaporation is. Then it's later changed into condensation. That's the cloud form. It says that as the water vaporizes, it cools down and changes back into the tiny water droplets. These droplets comes together to form what? Clouds. So from vapor to condensation. Okay, from vapor to condensation, and that's the cloudy form. And the third point is what? Precipitation. That's the raining or the rain. It is either going to rain or it will come into a form of a snow or into a form of a slate or a hail. That's precipitation, the falling down of the river. And the fourth point is the collection. That's when after the rain is being pulled down by the gravity, it is being then collected on the surface of the earth by the rivers, the streams and the lakes, then onto the earth, onto the ocean. So it is a movement. It is a movement, a constant movement. It always happen. It always happen from evaporation, condensation, then precipitation. Then lastly, it gets to the collection stage. So now let us move to the next slide. I hope you understand. So now I have a trial question here that you could try your hands on. A trial question that you could try your hands on. And I will be expecting your answers at the comment section. So I hope you do understand how the water cycle is. I hope you do understand how the water cycle is. So the first question is, I said that what is water cycle? Let me see your answers at the comment section. The second question is that which stage happens when the sun heats water and turns into water vapor? So let me see your answers at the comment section. I hope you enjoyed this class, and I hope you have understood how water cycle is being worked, or how it happens. Make sure you stay tuned, and I hope you enjoy the class. Thank you very much.